Hello everyone, my name is Vinci and you are welcome to the Vinci Clothing channel. In this video, I'm going to tell you 3 things that is going to help you fasten your sewing process and reduce your sewing time. The last one is my favorite one. Is going to increase your process and reduce your working time by at least 50%. So just stick with me to the end of this video if this has been a problem you are battling with. Let us begin. The first problem is this, that you don't do all you need to do on your table before coming to your sewing machine. Like I battled with this problem for years before I finally learned this method I'm about to tell you. Before you leave your table to your sewing machine to actually start sewing, make sure that you are done with gumming every single thing you need to gum, all the parts you need to iron, all the places you need to put hair stain, the places you need to put hemming gum, the places you need to put anything you need to finish on the table before you start sewing. It might seem as if you are wasting your time on the table, but take your time and finish every single thing you need to finish on the table before you come to the sewing machine, so that you know that once you start sewing, there is no going back to the table. And of course, I understand that there are things and there are times where you need to sew and then go to your table and iron something before you come and continue. For example, if you are sewing a trouser and you are sewing the side, after sewing, you need to go to your table, press it open, and then before you continue sewing. So that is excusable, that's understandable. But there are things like if you are sewing a kaftan, for example, you need to gum your wristband, you need to gum your flap, you need to gum your piping or your biasing, your pocket and everything before you go to your sewing machine. All these little things might seem as if you are wasting your time at the beginning, but I tell you, in the long run, it's going to reduce your sewing time. It is going to reduce your sewing time. I'm telling you this out of experience, so take me for my word. All right. So let's go to the second point. I should mention it. Make sure all your machines, all the tools you need to use are in good shape. You understand? If you are sewing and your thread keeps cutting, all those little time you are using to fix your thread, by the time you combine it, it might take 1 hour. You don't know. Especially if you are sewing a suit, all the time your thread is cutting and you are trying to fix it. By the time you compile it, it's going to take a lot of time. You might not know. You understand? So make sure your machine is in good shape. If you need to service your machine every month or every week, you should do it. Make sure your scissors is sharp. Make sure your needles are good. Just make sure everything you need to sew is in good shape. You understand? Make sure every single thing you use while sewing is in place. Make sure that your scissors is not so far from you. In fact, what I usually do is I have a scissors for my table and I have a scissors for my machine, so that when I'm on my machine sewing, I don't need to stand up and go and pick my scissors. If I'm alone, it's easier if I have someone working for me or learning for me. I can quickly tell him, please hand me over the scissors, and he will help me hand the scissors to me. But if you're alone and you need to be fast, make sure you have 2 scissors, one on your table and one on your sewing machine. So when you are on your table, you don't need to go to your machine and pick your scissors. Or when you're on your machine, you don't need to go to the table and pick your scissors. Have one for each species. I'll just give you 2 points in one. Make sure your machines are in good shape, and if you need to have 2 scissors, you should do that. If you need to service your machine twice in a month, once in a week, you should do that. It is very important. Make sure if you're using an industrial machine, make sure your oils are gauged. Make sure it's not too low and it's not too high. Make sure your needles are sharp. You understand, your needles is not broken, it's just blunt. That alone can make your thread to be cutting over and over and over and over again. You understand? This is all about the second point. So let us go to the third point. I said this is my third point and this is my favorite, and you might disagree with me, but this is going to improve and increase your speed with at least 50%. Make sure you know every step of sewing in your head. Let me explain what that means to you. If you are sewing a kaftan, for example, you should know after this step is this step. This is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4. You should know it in your head. If you need to memorize it, you should memorize it. For me, I've sewn, like I said, I've sewn a good number of suits that I already know it in my subconscious. I don't need to memorize it. I already know it. Like if you wake me from sleep and tell me what is step 7 of sewing a suit, I can literally tell you because I know it in my subconscious. I've sewn a lot of suits. You understand? But if you are a beginner, not just for suits, for kaftans, for trousers, not just for all those things, if you are sewing, whatever you are sewing, make sure you know the steps in your head. If you need to write it and place it somewhere, you should do that. The reason is because those pauses you take to think, okay, what's the next step? Time is going, and they say time is money, right? So those times you take pauses to think, okay, what is the next step? What should I do next? Time is ticking, time is going, and by the time you compile all the time, before you know it, 1 hour is gone. You understand? Let me give you a quick story. I remember when I started learning how to sew, I was sewing a shirt. So one of my seniors came and he met me sewing a particular part of the shirt. He went for an hour. He came back and he met me. I didn't make any progress. And he was like, why are you this slow? And you've been sewing all this while. Why are you this slow? And I told him, I don't know. I actually thought I was fast. Then he told me, this is the reason, this is the problem. The difference between you and me is that I know these things in my head. I know after cutting, I'm going to gum. After gumming and ironing all these parts, I need to do the sleeve. After the sleeve, the front. After the front, the back. I know all these steps in my head. So when I'm doing it, I'm just doing it one after the other. After this one, I'll go to the next one. But for you, you sit down to think, okay, what's the next part? That is the difference between you and me. And when I took that challenge, in my own case, I didn't write it down. I actually memorized. I remember I was sewing a shirt. I actually memorized how to sew a shirt in my head. So when I was sewing a shirt, it improved my speed with about 50%. Let's assume I took 4 hours to sew a shirt. After I implemented that advice he gave me, I ended up spending like 2 hours sewing a shirt. These three things are the things that if you implement, I promise you it's going to improve how fast you sew your outfit. All right, so just what he mentions, things that didn't make it to my top 3, but I think I should mention is when you are sewing, make sure your surroundings are clean. Make sure your table is clean. Make sure your table you are sewing a shirt, but you have fabric of 3 days ago that you sewn a trouser. Before you iron, you have to clear space. Those times you are using to clear spaces, time is going. Before I start sewing, whenever you come to my workspace and you see me sewing, my table is clean. There is anything you see on my table are the things I need. My scissors, my clapper, my iron. Those are the things you see on my table, and maybe the pieces of what I'm sewing. Apart from that, you're not going to see any other thing, I promise you. So all those things, the time you're using to clear space, time is going. If your shop is clumsy, for me, I don't know about you, if your shop is clumsy, it slows down. It slows down my head. It's my head that is choked up. If my shop is choked up, it affects my head. I want to clear this. When I come to my office, the first thing I do is I make sure I clear the space. I don't allow anyone to clean my space, right? Where I sew in the room I sew, I am alone in there. I don't allow anyone to clean it. I clean it myself. Do you understand? I make sure I clear everything. I clear my table, my machines, everything. If I'm not using a particular thread, I keep it somewhere. You understand? I don't want to even see what I'm not sewing around me. You understand? That is one word he mentioned. The second word he mentioned is make sure you reel. If you are sewing a blue shirt, you should reel 2 bobbins of thread so that when you are sewing, you don't pause and start reeling. Time is going. Reel all you need to reel and keep them so that when this one is finished, put the second one and continue. So when I'm sewing a suit, I reel at least 3 bobbins for my sewing so that I don't have to pause at a point and start reeling. That alone kills my morale. You know what I mean? The third word he mentioned is make sure you are comfortable. About comfortable, I mean make sure your table is in the right level. It should be. Make sure the chair you are sitting on is in the right level. Make sure your sewing machine, if you are using an industrial machine, you can increase the height and reduce it. Make sure it's in the level you are most comfortable with. Some people, they want it low. Some people, they want it high. Find what is good for you. Find what works for you and implement it, and it's going to improve your speed. Those are the word mentions that I didn't mention. If I've forgotten anyone, please put it in the comment section. Let me hear what you think that I should have said, but I didn't say. What works for you might not work for me. So just let us know in the comment section. And if you find this video useful, just give me a thumbs up. Tell me well done in the comment section. Let me just hear what you think in the comment section. If this is your first time of visiting this channel, if you've not subscribed, I don't know what you are waiting for. Just hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that whenever I drop a video, you'll be notified. I am your boy, Vinci Clothings. Let us go.